Hello and welcome to this Python mini tutorial. Today's lesson will be about for loops, and we will also talk about the Python built-in sequence range, which is often used in conjunction with for loops. So, a for loop. What is it? What does it do? A for loop takes a sequence in Python, for instance, a list, could also be a tuple or a dictionary or a string, and it does something for each item in that sequence. This is the anatomy of a for loop. The keywords for and in are built in. The variable veggie can be whatever you want. It refers to the item that is currently being looped over. And then the name of your sequence has to be a sequence that has already been defined as a variable. Then there is a colon, an indentation, and within the indented block, you can tell your for loop to do whatever you want it to for each item in your sequence. So here we're going to start very simply by saying for each vegetable in our list veggie pile, we are going to just print it. Going to use this opportunity to talk about f strings, which I don't believe we've gotten to yet. Python 3 has this lovely feature called f strings, where within your print statement, before you start your string in quotations, just put the letter F. Put whatever you want your string to be, and then in curly brackets within the quotations, you can use a varying variable. So for this one, it's always going to say dicing, because that is an immutable string. But then it's going to refer to this veggie variable that refers to a different item in our sequence every time it loops through our list. So we should see dicing and then, each vegetable. And so we do. We can also use for loops in dictionaries. So here we have a dictionary called capitals, where the keys are a country name and the values associated with it are the capital of that country. You might remember from our dictionary lesson that when you write the name of the dictionary, dot items followed by parentheses, you get the key value pairs. So in this example, we're still using keywords for and in, just like we did with the list. Same anatomy, there's a colon at the end of our for statement, and then an indented code block. We're going to say for each key and value, we are going to use an f string to get the changing variable values in each iteration through the loop. So the f string formats our keys and values nicely in two sentences. Here we're going to talk about range. We are declaring a variable called first5. Range is a keyword. It starts with the number in your sequence that you're starting with, separated by a comma, and then one greater than the number that you want. So we saw something similar when we were slicing. So you overshoot it by 1. So this range should be the numbers 1 through 5. To clarify with range, this is not a function despite having a keyword followed by parentheses with what looks like it should be arguments to parameters in it. It's actually the range object, which is a sequence type like lists and tuples. So if we're using our for loops over sequences, range will make one for us nicely. You'll see also when you define your range sequence, you print out what this variable first 5 is holding. It just tells you that you have a range object that should go from 1 to 1 less than 6. If you want to actually see what is in your range, you have to wrap it in the keyword list, which will make the values in it into a list. And now you can see them. So if we want to see that demonstrated in a for loop, we would say for whatever we want to call this variable value, let's call it number. In this sequence, so this range from 1 to 5, we would like to print that number. There you go. Another nice feature of range is that you can see this one has 3 arguments. So in this order, it's the starting number, 1 greater than the stopping number, and the step, which means optionally you can hop over certain values. So if we start at 3 and we go to 7 without overshooting it, and we want to skip every other one because our step is 2. And then we will declare a new variable within the body of our for loop called stars, where we print an asterisk, and then times, so the built-in Python arithmetic operator for multiplication, and then we're using the number that varies each time we go through the for loop. So stars would be asterisk, the number of times that the number currently represents. So starting with 3, we get 3 stars. Skipping over 2, we get 5, and then we go to 7, which is where our range ends. You can, if you feel the need to use this kind of code, completely ignore your variable in the body of your for loop and just do something the number of times that corresponds to the number of items in your sequence. Generally, that's not very Pythonic, and you could just use length, for instance.